Hello and welcome to my hobby table. So what I've got on the table today is an engine I'm going to disassemble. Now this is a OS FS-91 Surpass engine. This is the Enigma engine that I got back in, I don't know if it was April of 2025, last year. And this was an engine, a used engine that I disassembled, and it was one of the first ones that I used that I did Boca bearing videos for. And this was an engine that I actually put ceramic bearings in. This was my first go around with using ceramic bearings. So actually I'm going to say first, before I go any further, I'm going to say that this video is dedicated to my buddy Uwe in Germany, because he's been kind of after me for a long time about doing something with this engine, because I think when I ran it in May, I believe it was in May when I ran it, I said something to the effect in that, crap, I was hoping I wasn't going to have any issues getting this thing apart. Something to the effect that I was going to disassemble this again and check these bearings, because these were ceramic bearings from Boca. And I did not, at the time, I did not remove the shield, the rubber seals on them. And I thought from the very get-go that these bearings just felt tight. And I think RPM readings kind of indicated a lower than normal RPM values than we should see for this engine, I believe also. I did not realize I was going to have such a difficult time with this cam cover, so that kind of sucks. So what I was going to do here is, he's been wanting me to take, and so it was kind of controversial for him anyway, that I left the seals in place on the rear bearing for sure. And I was like, well, you know, it's a ceramic bearing, my first experience with it. It was all an experiment. So I am wondering, and I had contacted Boca and said, hey, I think these bearings just feel really tight. And I think it was, I don't know who it was at Boca I spoke to. He said, look, maybe sometimes it's possible that the bearings get packed too tightly with grease. So the whole purpose of why I'm disassembling this engine right now is, A, I just finished a whole bunch of customer engines and I don't have any other ones to play with. But B, I want to take these bearings out, and I'm going to leave that, I think, and either see what they feel like in my hand again, or take the rubber seals off and run them open, or just see how much grease is. I mean, basically, this engine has been sitting for months, and it had one run on it after I replaced the bearings. And to me, it still, even without a glow plug in there, it still feels kind of snug. So we're just gonna do a little bit of investigation here. And I know I made a comment in either the disassembly or reassembly video, or after, I think it was after I ran it, about thinking I saw leakage from this rear cover, and I made a comment saying I didn't put a gasket on it. Well, I just looked in my OS Engines book, and the OS Engines book doesn't show that there was a gasket ever installed on this engine rear cover. So I didn't think to look to see if there was a intake gasket, because I know a lot of times OS wouldn't even put gaskets on their engines. So there's what it looks like in the inside there. And I didn't put any after run oil or anything like that in here. This is really kind of disturbing here, this part here, because it's like, ugh. I've had so many of these engines in the last month that just had issues with these covers coming off, and I don't remember if when I first got this one, if I had that same issue then or not, but geesh. I wanted this just to be a quickie disassembly, but if I'm going to have to expend a lot of effort on that cover. And the other thing I found interesting when I was looking at that video is that that was long before I had Bill's cam bearing extraction tool. So, and I actually replaced the cam bearings in this engine. But I never showed how I got them out. So I'm curious as to how in the heck I was able to get those things out without his tool, because I just don't know how I managed to do that. That's an enigma to me at this point, because sometimes there's just things that I don't show in videos, and that was one of them. And at least I don't think I showed that. Maybe I did. I didn't watch the whole video. But I do know that one of these push rods doesn't have a seal on it, and I think I might have some Harbor Freight O-rings that I might be able to use. And I know I commented about that on the run video too, that, I mean, this engine is less than perfect. It was less than perfect when I got it. It's less than perfect now. It's got some marks on the fins. So it's not, you know, like a prime example of a pristine example of an FS-91 Surpass engine. And I didn't run it before I disassembled it, so I really had nothing to compare it against before and after as far as how well it ran. I just dove straight into the disassembly. So one of the things I saw in that video was that this connecting rod, there's no hole in there for that to come out, so that tells me that this thing should just, well, obviously it came out, I got it out, changed bearings, so it must be one of the Surpass engines that you can get the connecting rod off. Now it looked like in that video I fumbled around with it. Here's a little tool I used to do that, and there it came right out. So this is an instance where that, and I know I took this ring off because it was really gnarly looking. But so this is an instance here where this is why there's no plug hole here and you have to extract the piston pin, because see how thin these piston bosses are and see how much movement you've got here? That's what allows you to get that off. So if you've got this, it must be that area there, that gap must equate to that thickness, because if it didn't, it wouldn't come up, or that gap plus having the sleeve out equates to that thickness, so you can slide that out. So I wish I was always had a piece of paper or something here and just saying, okay, 91 Surpass doesn't require extraction and 30 Surpass doesn't, because, you know, some engines do, some engines don't. Now I got to sit here and try and see how long it's going to take me to get this cover off. And I may end up shutting the video off until I can figure out how I can get this cover off, because this could take a while, and no, it's not going to take a while. It looks like it's coming off now. It's just a matter of getting, there we go. It just felt tight, but man, I've had some of these lately that just were, you have to be very careful when you're doing what I'm doing here. I'm not putting a whole lot of pressure on that at all, because you don't want to break that tab off. But I got it to come up that far, and it's like, okay, how much? There we go. So here I just put these round nose pliers in here. I'm just kind of wiggling it, pulling up on it here, so it's almost off. Maybe a little bit of heat would make it come off easier. I may just have to go over there and heat it up real quick. It looks like it's kind of coming off at an angle, which is why it's not wanting to do that. So if I just go kind of rock it back and forth here, it's almost off. I need to really do a little bit of dressing up of that surface, because that's just really a lot tighter than it should be. I can feel it. It's right there. Feel free to fast forward this part of the video, because I'm not going to bother turning it off. Oh, look, I'm bleeding. You know you're doing something right when you start bleeding all over your engine. Okay. Wow, that was tight. Oh yeah, okay, well, I think I'll be alright. Alright, so that's off. I need to dress this up really well because that's ridiculous. Alright, where's my magnet? First I gotta get this cam follower out up here. If it looks like I'm rushing, I'm trying to make it so that this isn't a super long video, but keep in mind also I've done this so many times, disassembled engines, that I can practically do it in my sleep. It's not like I have to sit and think about what it is I'm doing. So this is interesting. I ran this engine one time, and this is dry. I mean, totally dry in here. So here I am leaking all over my engine again. Now you'll notice that the breather vent isn't on here. I took it off and I'm pretty sure I cleaned it out and I put it on another engine. An engine that I'm keeping. I've got more of them on order. But yeah, that was dry in there. So that tells me several things. It tells me that it was not a good idea to leave fully sealed bearings in this engine. And or it also means that potentially, you know, that breather was plugged up, because like I said in that run video, I wasn't seeing evidence of it, oil coming out of there. So this is an issue with why Uva was really concerned about why I didn't remove seals. And like I said, it was just an experiment, and these were ceramic bearings. I didn't know anything. I still really don't know anything about ceramic bearings and why anybody would want to use ceramic bearings on a glow engine, but Boca sells them. So I was like, and that was like one of my first engines that I did for them for video. I'm like, well, what the hell? I'm gonna go ahead and just get a set of ceramic bearings. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these bearings out and open them up, inspect them, clean if necessary, but then reinstall them the way I should have done it to begin with, which is open the seals up. On this one in the front, on the other one. So yeah, this crankshaft is totally dry there. So so here's the thing, here's a lesson. Those bearings, when they're sealed, they're really sealed. I mean, they really seal. So keep that in mind. What am I going to do here to get this? I'm going to do everything I can to be as gentle with these bearings as possible. Now I'm not heating this because I don't know that it's really going to be necessary. That was the inside of the engine, and I think that was grease. It had oozed out. So part 2 of this video, I'll zoom in more, and yeah, look at that. I don't know if I got a tooth or a Q-tip here or not. I'll use a different portion of this cloth that's cleaner. That looks like it was just oozing a whole bunch of bearing grease out. I thought that they would have like a white grease, but that looks like that was a dark grease that was in there. But we'll see more of that when I get these bearings taken apart. So do I have a lip there? Yeah. So I wasn't too worried about just not using heat on this because this engine didn't really have any run time. Well, it had one run on it. So I wasn't concerned about the bearings being massively stuck in there, and I don't believe I know that I didn't do any damage to them. So next step here is probably go and put a band-aid on my thumb maybe, or at least a piece of tape. So here's something that I think is interesting. I think now we can go ahead and zoom in here a little bit tighter. This might be an interesting video for the folks at Boca to watch and see too, because this rear bearing is got a black seal on one side and a green seal on the other, and I don't know what that means. Obviously a rear bearing really should be open on both sides, so I'm just gonna, and since these are seals, rubber seals, you can actually replace them. So these kinds of bearings are designed to be serviced, so I'm going to be incredibly gentle while I'm taking these out so I can preserve these seals. Why? Just because, not like I plan on putting them back in there or not, but see, here's what I'm saying here. This rear bearing had a white grease in there. Now obviously if I'm going to make these completely open sealed bearings, there's not going to need to be any grease at all. So what I'll probably end up doing is put these in some alcohol or something and try to flush this grease out. I'm really trying not to bend these, because even though these are replaceable seals, they do have a metal ring on them that can be bent. So here you can see the balls, and on this side you can see the phenolic race. And yeah, they don't feel like, I guess these ceramic balls, I'll hold this still for you. It's hard to tell. I don't know if the ceramic balls are gray or that color, or if that's just the race that's encapsulating them. Usually that would be the race, but because I thought I'd seen that the balls were white, but honestly I don't know now. I mean, that bearing doesn't feel like it's got a lot of drag on it, but I'm gonna probably go drop that in some bearing soak solvent, or is it soft, what is it called? So it's the Boca bearing solvent to degrease these things. Okay, so that one, okay, so that one, these are both the same color. I think this was the second one I pulled off, so the black one would seem to denote the side that has the phenolic race on it, and the colored side for this one was the open side where you could see the balls and the races and stuff. Now this one I don't want to take that other seal off, and this one feels a lot smoother. I mean, so here's a test for a bearing. If, I can't remember, I had that. If you put a bearing on a crankshaft and you see the counterweight just drop down, that means you got a really nice bearing. That's my test for a bearing. Let's see if I can do the same thing here. And I can see here, I'm gonna go down and clean this crankshaft up on the grinder with the brass bristle brush that Harvey gave me. So, I mean, I don't know. Seems like a really nice bearing. Maybe the drag that I was feeling or thinking I was feeling on that engine was from some other source. Actually, that looks like that's clean enough. I can dress that up a little bit with a piece of... I mean, this engine was completely cleaned anyway, so I mean, it really shouldn't need any cleaning at all. It's in good shape. This was basically just to test out, check out the bearings. So now when I go to reinstall these bearings, I'm going to go drop these in some bearing soak, I think. I don't know that I want to do that with this one. I don't even know if I need to do it with either of them. The only experiment would be to do that and see if it feels any differently. I mean, that's a very smooth bearing. It's not on there straight, but I mean, that's a very, very smooth bearing. So I don't know that I really need to do anything with these now. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this one like this, reinstall it just as you should on a rear bearing in an engine. Leave this one just like this, and maybe just put this engine right back together and see if it feels any different rotating it by hand, and then of course wipe all the blood off that I got on the crankcase here. This will be, you know, another engine that gets run when the weather is better here. I mean, actually the weather's not bad today. It's you know, above 30 degrees, so it's above freezing. Wow, I really sliced the shoot out of my thumb there. So anyway, that has been our investigation inside this 91 Surpass Enigma engine that I replaced bearings on last May, I believe, and only did one run on. So you saw what the condition of the engine was, and I'm pretty sure I cleaned up all this stuff. So I mean, everything looks like it's in really good shape, as it should be, because well, you know, I have been doing this for a while. So I don't have any issues with my level of workmanship, that's for sure. But it's just interesting that it still felt tight. So we'll see what it feels like when I get this thing back together. But this rear bearing does look like it, or front bearing looked like it had some kind of dark colored grease, as opposed to the white, probably white lithium grease that you would see on, I think is what we're seeing on that rear bearing. So anyway, that's our UVA. That video is for you, and keep on me about doing this, and I will get this engine running or on the stand and run, you know, sometime early, as soon as I can run engines again.